We live in a world that often confuses noise with power. The louder someone speaks, the more confident we assume they are. The more aggressively they argue, the more authority we believe they hold. But if you pause for a moment and truly observe life, you will notice a quiet truth. The loudest voice in the room is usually the most uncertain one. Real strength does not compete for attention. It carries a calm certainty that does not need to announce itself. Think about moments when someone raises their voice. Why does it happen? Most of the time, it is not because they are powerful. It is because they feel unheard, threatened, or insecure. Shouting is often a reaction, not a response. It is the mind in chaos, trying to overpower a situation it cannot control. True power, on the other hand, comes from clarity, and clarity is always calm. A strong woman understands this deeply. She knows that raising her voice may win her a moment, but raising her standards wins her a lifetime. She does not shout to prove a point, because she has already made peace with who she is. When you are clear about your values, your direction, and your worth, you don't feel the need to convince everyone around you. You speak when it matters, and when it doesn't, you choose silence. Silence is often misunderstood. People assume that if you don't react, you are weak. But silence is not the absence of strength, it is the presence of self-control. It takes far more power to remain calm in the face of disrespect than to explode in anger. Anyone can shout, anyone can argue, but only a strong person can pause, breathe, and decide not to let chaos enter their mind. Clarity gives you the ability to choose your battles wisely. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every criticism deserves an explanation. Not every misunderstanding deserves your energy. When a woman is clear about where she is going, she does not stop to fight every barking dog on the road. She keeps walking because her destination matters more than the noise along the way. There is also a deep sense of self-respect hidden in this clarity. A woman who respects herself does not lower her dignity by matching someone else's aggression. She understands that shouting often invites more shouting, but calmness disarms conflict. A composed response can end an argument faster than 1,000 angry words. Calmness creates authority, noise creates resistance. Look at nature for a moment. The ocean does not shout, yet it can shape mountains. The sun does not make noise, yet it controls seasons. The strongest forces in the universe are silent, steady, and consistent. In the same way, a woman grounded in clarity does not need to raise her voice. Her presence alone creates impact. Clarity also comes from emotion awareness. A strong woman knows what she is feeling and why she is feeling it. Instead of letting emotions control her, she observes them. She asks herself, is reacting right now going to help me or harm me? Most of the time, she realizes that reacting loudly gives temporary relief but long-term regret. Silence, on the other hand, gives her space to respond with wisdom. When you speak from clarity, your words carry weight. People listen not because you are loud, but because you are precise. You don't speak too much, but when you do, your words land deeply. This is why calm people are often seen as leaders. Their quiet confidence makes others feel safe, grounded, and attentive. A strong woman also understands that her energy is precious. She does not waste it on endless arguments or proving herself to people who have already decided not to understand her. Instead, She channels that energy into growth, learning, and building a life that speaks for itself. Over time, her progress becomes her voice. Her consistency becomes her answer. Her success becomes her statement. There is a beautiful shift that happens when clarity replaces noise. You stop reacting to everything. You stop taking everything personally. You stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. You realize that peace is more powerful than winning an argument. And in that peace, your strength multiplies. In the end, power is not about who can dominate a conversation. It is about who can remain steady when the world tries to shake them. Strong women don't shout because they don't need to. They have clarity in their minds, confidence in their hearts, and purpose in their steps. And that kind of strength doesn't echo loudly, it resonates deeply. There comes a point in life when a woman realizes a quiet but life-changing truth. Not everyone needs to understand her, and not everyone deserves an explanation. Until that moment, many spend years trying to be approved, appreciated, and accepted, shaping their words, shrinking their dreams, and adjusting their identity just to fit into someone else's comfort zone. But real self-worth begins the day she stops asking for permission to be herself. Validation is addictive. A compliment feels good. Appreciation feels reassuring. Being acknowledged feels safe. There is nothing wrong with enjoying recognition, but the danger begins when your sense of worth depends on it. When you start measuring yourself by likes, applause, opinions, or approval, you hand over control of your confidence to people who may not even know your journey. A strong woman understands that external validation is unstable. Today people clap, tomorrow they criticize. If your worth rises and falls with their reactions, you will never stand steady. Self-worth is internal. It is built in silence, not in spotlight. It grows in moments when no one is watching, when you choose integrity over attention, growth over comfort, and peace over proving a point. A woman who knows her worth doesn't chase appreciation because she appreciates herself first. She doesn't beg to be chosen because she has already chosen herself. Many arguments in life are not really about truth. They are about ego. People want to be right. They want to feel superior. They want to feel heard. A woman rooted in self-worth sees this clearly. She knows that arguing with someone who is committed to misunderstanding her is a waste of energy. So she stops explaining, not because she lacks words, but because she values her peace more than their approval. There is a powerful freedom in not needing validation. You stop overthinking every sentence you speak. You stop replaying conversations in your head. You stop worrying about how you were perceived. You stop editing yourself to fit into rooms that were never meant for you. And in that freedom, you become lighter, calmer, and more authentic. Strong women don't argue with opinions that don't matter because they know who they are. When your identity is clear, outside noise loses its power. Criticism still exists, but it doesn't penetrate deeply. Praise still comes, but it doesn't define you. You listen when feedback is constructive, and you let go when it's destructive. That discernment is not arrogance, it is emotional maturity. There will always be people who misunderstand your silence as arrogance, your boundaries as attitude, and your confidence as ego. Earlier, you might have tried to correct them, explain yourself, or soften your presence so they feel comfortable. But a woman who knows her worth no longer does that. She understands that clarity does not require consensus. You can be clear about who you are even if others disagree. Self-worth also teaches a woman not to compete unnecessarily. She doesn't compare her path, her pace, or her progress with others. Comparison is another form of validation seeking. It quietly asks, "Am I enough?" A strong woman already knows the answer. She respects others without diminishing herself. She celebrates others without feeling threatened. Her worth is not dependent on being better than someone else. It is rooted in being true to herself. There is also a deep calm that comes with this mindset. When you don't need validation, rejection hurts less. Disapproval feels lighter. You don't crumble when someone disagrees with you. You don't feel the urge to defend every decision you make. You understand that not everyone will clap when you grow, and that's okay. Growth is not a performance, it's a personal journey. A woman who doesn't seek validation becomes powerful in subtle ways. She listens more than she speaks. She observes more than she reacts. She chooses her words carefully, not to impress, but to express. And when silence is the wiser choice, she embraces it without fear of being misunderstood. Perhaps the most beautiful part of self-worth is this: it gives you the courage to walk away. Walk away from conversations that drain you. Walk away from relationships that reduce you. Walk away from spaces where you have to constantly prove your value. You don't leave angrily. You don't leave dramatically. You leave peacefully, because you know staying would cost you more than leaving ever could. In the end, a strong woman understands that validation is temporary, but self-respect is permanent. Applause fades. Opinions change. But the relationship you have with yourself lasts a lifetime. When that relationship is rooted in self-worth, you no longer need the world to tell you who you are. You already know, and that quiet knowing becomes your greatest strength. Silence has been misunderstood for generations. It is often seen as surrender, fear, or helplessness. Many people grow up believing that if you don't speak up immediately, if you don't defend yourself loudly, or if you don't react strongly, you must be weak. But silence, when chosen consciously, is not weakness at all. It is one of the most powerful expressions of strength and self-awareness. A strong woman understands the difference between being silent because she is afraid and being silent because she is in control. Fear-based silence shrinks you. Power-based silence protects you. The difference lies in intention. When silence comes from clarity, it becomes a shield rather than a wound. It allows you to step back, observe the situation, and decide how much of yourself you are willing to give to it. Reacting instantly is easy. Anyone can raise their voice when emotions are high. Anyone can lash out when hurt. But strength is revealed in the pause between emotion and action. That pause is where wisdom lives. Silence gives space to breathe, to think, and to respond instead of reacting. It keeps temporary emotions from creating permanent damage. A woman who chooses silence understands that not every truth needs to be spoken immediately. Timing matters. Energy matters. Audience matters. There are moments when speaking only adds fuel to the fire, and silence becomes the fire extinguisher. By not responding, she refuses to participate in chaos. She does not allow someone else's lack of control to dictate her behavior. Silence also protects dignity. Words spoken in anger often return as regret. Once released, they cannot be taken back. A strong woman values her dignity more than winning an argument. She knows that losing her composure costs more than losing a debate. So she stays quiet, not because she has nothing to say, but because she has too much respect for herself to say it carelessly. There is also deep emotional intelligence in silence. It requires awareness of one's own triggers and vulnerabilities. A strong woman recognizes when she is emotionally charged and chooses not to speak from that state. She allows emotions to settle before engaging. This self-regulation is not suppression, it is mastery. It shows that she is not controlled by circumstances, but grounded within herself. Silence can also be a form of communication. Sometimes, not responding sends a clearer message than words ever could. It signals boundaries. It communicates disinterest in drama. It shows that certain behaviors will not receive attention. For a strong woman, silence becomes a language that says, "I see this, and I choose not to entertain it." Many fear silence because they worry it will be misinterpreted. They fear being seen as weak, submissive, or defeated. But a strong woman understands that she cannot control others' perceptions, only her own actions. She accepts that some people will misunderstand her silence, and she is at peace with that. Her strength does not depend on being correctly interpreted by everyone. Silence also creates space for growth. When you stop explaining yourself to everyone, you start listening to yourself more. You begin to understand what truly matters to you. You become less reactive and more intentional. In that quiet space, clarity deepens and confidence strengthens. There is something deeply unsettling about a woman who remains calm in situations meant to provoke her. It shifts the power dynamic. When others expect a reaction and receive none, they are forced to confront themselves. Silence reflects energy back to its source. It exposes insecurity, aggression, and immaturity without a single word being spoken. Choosing silence does not mean tolerating disrespect forever. A strong woman knows when silence is temporary and when action is required. She does not stay quiet to the point of self-erasure. Instead, she uses silence strategically until she is ready to speak from strength, not from pain. And when she does speak, her words are firm, clear, and impossible to ignore. There is also courage in silence. It takes bravery to resist the urge to defend yourself immediately. It takes confidence to let go of the need to correct every misconception. It takes inner security to remain still while others are restless. This courage comes from knowing that your truth does not depend on constant verbal defense. In relationships, silence can be an act of wisdom. Instead of escalating conflicts, a strong woman chooses space. She allows emotions to cool. She gives herself time to respond thoughtfully. This often leads to deeper understanding and healthier communication later on. Silence becomes a bridge, not a wall. In the end, silence is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is the space where self-respect, emotional intelligence, and inner power meet. Strong women do not fear silence because they are not afraid of themselves. They are comfortable in their own presence. And from that quiet center, they move through the world with grace, control, and unshakable strength. Emotional intelligence is often invisible, and because it is invisible, it is frequently underestimated. People tend to admire loud confidence, quick comebacks, and dramatic reactions, mistaking them for strength. But a strong woman understands something deeper. Real strength is not about reacting instantly to everything you feel, but about understanding those feelings and choosing how to respond to them. Emotional intelligence is the quiet power that allows her to stay centered even when life tries to pull her off balance. To feel deeply is not a weakness. In fact, strong women often feel more intensely than others. They experience joy, pain, disappointment, and hope with great depth. The difference is not in what they feel, but in how they handle it. Emotional intelligence gives them the ability to sit with their emotions instead of being ruled by them. They do not deny their feelings, nor do they let those feelings dictate every action. They acknowledge, reflect, and then decide. A woman with emotional intelligence knows that emotions are information, not commands. Anger may be telling her that a boundary has been crossed. Sadness may be reminding her of something she values. Fear may be pointing to uncertainty, not incapacity. Instead of reacting blindly, she listens to these signals with curiosity. She asks herself why she feels the way she does and what the emotion is trying to teach her. This awareness transforms emotional reactions into thoughtful responses. One of the clearest signs of emotional intelligence is restraint. It takes strength to pause when everything inside you wants to speak. It takes maturity to choose calm when provocation is easy. A strong woman understands that reacting emotionally might feel satisfying in the moment, but it often creates consequences she will have to carry later. So she slows herself down, she breathes, she creates space between feeling and action. That space is where wisdom lives. Emotional intelligence also allows a woman to respond with empathy rather than defensiveness. When someone speaks harshly or behaves unfairly, her first instinct is not always to attack back. She recognizes that people often project their own pain, insecurity, or frustration onto others. This does not mean she tolerates disrespect, but it does mean she does not personalize everything. She protects her peace by understanding that not every behavior is about her. This inner regulation gives her a powerful kind of freedom. She is not constantly apologizing for how she feels, nor is she constantly explaining herself. She does not suppress emotions to please others, and she does not express them recklessly either. She communicates honestly, but with care. Her words are clear, grounded, and intentional. People may not always agree with her, but they feel the steadiness behind her presence. A strong woman with emotional intelligence also knows when to step away. She recognizes the early signs of emotional exhaustion, resentment, or overwhelm. Instead of pushing herself to the breaking point, she honors her limits. She rests without guilt. She creates boundaries without hostility. This self-awareness prevents burnout and builds long-term resilience. She understands that strength is not about enduring endlessly, it is about sustaining oneself wisely. In difficult conversations, emotional intelligence becomes especially powerful. Rather than trying to win or dominate, she seeks understanding. She listens not just to words, but to tone, body language, and unspoken emotions. She knows that feeling heard often matters more than being proven wrong. This ability to listen deeply disarms conflict and builds respect. It allows her to stand firm without becoming rigid. There is also humility in emotional intelligence. A strong woman is willing to admit when she is wrong. She does not see accountability as humiliation, She sees it as growth. Apologizing does not make her smaller, it makes her wiser. She understands that learning from mistakes strengthens character far more than defending ego ever could. Emotional intelligence helps her navigate disappointment as well. When things do not go as planned, she allows herself to feel the sadness or frustration without drowning in it. She processes the emotion instead of avoiding it. Over time, this builds emotional resilience. Setbacks no longer shatter her identity. They become experiences she learns from, not definitions she lives by. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of emotional intelligence is inner stability. Life will always be unpredictable. People will misunderstand, criticize, and challenge. Circumstances will change. A strong woman cannot control all of this, but she can control how she meets it. Emotional intelligence gives her an inner anchor. Even when the world feels chaotic, she remains grounded. In the end, emotional intelligence is real strength because it is sustainable. Loud reactions fade quickly, but inner mastery lasts. A woman who understands her emotions, honors them, and manages them wisely carries a strength that does not need to be proven. It is felt in her calm, seen in her choices, and respected in her presence. There is a moment in every strong woman's life when she realizes that words are cheap, arguments are exhausting, and explanations are endless. But growth changes everything without saying a single sentence. People can doubt you, question you, underestimate you, or even try to define your limits. You can spend years responding to them, defending yourself, and trying to make them see your potential. Or you can choose a far more powerful path, grow so deeply and so consistently that your progress becomes the only response necessary. Growth is quiet work. It happens early in the morning when no one is watching. It happens in private struggles, in disciplined routines, and in choices that don't look impressive at first. A strong woman understands this. She knows that transformation doesn't need an audience. While others are busy talking about what they will do, she is building. While others are explaining, she is evolving. Responding with growth requires patience. Results take time. There is no instant applause. There is no immediate validation. And that is exactly why it is powerful. Anyone can react emotionally in the moment, but only someone with vision can stay focused long enough to let progress speak later. A strong woman resists the urge to clap back, prove a point, or seek quick satisfaction. She invests in herself instead. Growth also demands humility. It requires a woman to accept that she doesn't have everything figured out yet, and that's okay. Instead of feeling threatened by criticism, she filters it. She keeps what helps her improve and releases what is meant to discourage her. She does not grow out of spite, but out of self-respect. Her motivation is not revenge, it is alignment with her higher self. There is something deeply unsettling to those who doubt you when they see you improving instead of reacting. When you don't argue back, when you don't explain yourself, when you don't lower yourself to match negativity, expectations are disrupted. People expect emotional reactions. They expect resistance. But growth confuses them. It shifts the narrative. Suddenly, the conversation is no longer about what you said. It's about who you've become. A strong woman knows that growth is the most honest form of communication. You don't have to announce your healing. Your peace will show it. You don't have to explain your discipline. Your results will reveal it. You don't have to justify your worth, your progress will confirm it. Growth carries a credibility that words never will. There will be moments when staying quiet and focused feels unfair. Moments when you feel misunderstood, dismissed, or overlooked. In those moments, growth becomes an act of self-trust. It is the decision to believe in your long-term vision over short-term relief. A strong woman reminds herself that today's silence is building tomorrow's strength. She is playing a longer game. Growth also teaches detachment. As you evolve, you naturally outgrow certain conversations, environments, and expectations. You stop trying to be understood by people who are not willing to grow with you. You stop explaining your choices to those who only see you through an old version of yourself. This detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. You are no longer emotionally invested in opinions that do not contribute to your becoming. There is also courage in choosing growth as a response. It means facing your weaknesses honestly. It means acknowledging patterns that no longer serve you. It means doing inner work that is uncomfortable and often invisible. But this courage builds a quiet confidence. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself because you are too busy improving yourself. Over time, something beautiful happens. The same people who once questioned you begin to notice the change. Some may admire it. Some may feel uncomfortable with it. Some may remain silent. And that silence is your answer, not because you defeated them, but because your growth moved the conversation beyond words. A strong woman understands that growth is not about becoming better than others. It is about becoming better than who she used to be. This mindset keeps her grounded. She does not compare her progress with someone else's chapter. She honors her pace. She celebrates her effort. She knows that consistency, not perfection, is what transforms lives. In the end, growth is the most dignified response a woman can offer to doubt, disrespect, or disbelief. It requires no shouting, no arguing, no explanations. It speaks in results, in confidence, and in inner peace. When a woman chooses growth as her response, she doesn't just answer her critics, she outgrows them. Many people believe that power comes from being able to argue well, explain endlessly, or convince others to change their behavior. But a strong woman learns a deeper truth with time and experience. Boundaries are far more powerful than debates. You can spend hours explaining why something hurts you, why something is unacceptable, or why you deserve better. Or you can simply decide what you will and will not tolerate, and let your actions speak. Boundaries are not loud. They do not require announcements or dramatic confrontations. In fact, the strongest boundaries are often quiet and firm. A strong woman does not threaten, plead, or repeat herself endlessly. She observes how people treat her, and she adjusts her access accordingly. This is not punishment, it is self-respect in action. Arguments often turn into power struggles. Each side wants to be right. Each side wants to be heard. But boundaries remove the need for these battles. When a woman knows her limits, she does not try to convince others to understand them. She understands them herself, and that is enough. If someone repeatedly crosses those limits, she doesn't argue. She changes her behavior, her availability, or her presence. That shift communicates more clearly than words ever could. There is a misconception that setting boundaries is rude, selfish, or aggressive. Many women are taught to be accommodating, patient, and forgiving at the expense of their own well-being. A strong woman unlearns this. She realizes that boundaries are not walls meant to isolate others. They are lines that protect her energy, time, and emotional health. Without boundaries, even the kindest heart becomes exhausted. Walking away is one of the most powerful boundary statements a woman can make. It does not require insults or explanations. It simply says, "This no longer aligns with me." A strong woman does not stay in conversations that drain her, relationships that diminish her, or environments that disrespect her, just to avoid being misunderstood. She understands that self-betrayal is far more damaging than someone else's disappointment. Boundaries also reveal a woman's clarity. When she knows what she values, her decisions become simpler. She does not struggle with guilt every time she says no. She does not over-explain her choices. She does not negotiate her self-worth. Her no is calm, her yes is intentional, and her silence is decisive. People may test boundaries, especially if they were used to having unlimited access before. A strong woman expects this. She does not take it personally. She understands that resistance often comes from those who benefited from her lack of boundaries. Instead of engaging in arguments to justify herself, she remains consistent. Consistency is what teaches others how to treat her. There is strength in not explaining yourself repeatedly. Explanations are often mistaken for invitations to debate. A strong woman knows that once she has communicated her boundary clearly, she does not owe further justification. Her peace is not a group decision. She does not require approval to protect herself. Boundaries also help a woman maintain emotional balance. When she stops absorbing other people's chaos, moods, and expectations, she becomes calmer. She no longer feels responsible for fixing everything or everyone. This emotional distance is not coldness, it is wisdom. It allows her to show up fully where she is valued and step back where she is not. A woman who enforces boundaries commands respect, even from those who don't like them. Why? Because boundaries signal self-trust. They show that she honors her own needs and limits. People may not always agree with her choices, but they recognize her strength. Over time, this creates healthier relationships, ones based on mutual respect rather than emotional exhaustion. Boundaries also require courage. It is not easy to disappoint people, especially when you are used to being the one who always gives, listens, and accommodates. A strong woman feels the discomfort, but she does not let it stop her. She understands that short-term discomfort leads to long-term peace. She chooses the discomfort of honesty over the exhaustion of resentment. In the end, arguments fade, explanations are forgotten, but boundaries remain. They shape the quality of a woman's life. They protect her time, her energy, and her self-respect. Strong women do not shout or argue endlessly. They draw clear lines, and then they honor them.